Hello everyone, welcome. We will begin the webinar shortly. We're just waiting for the last people to join. So give us a minute and then we'll start the webinar. Okay, hello everyone and welcome to the webinar. My name is Mark de Jong and together with my colleague Marco Kroon, I am hosting this webinar where we are going to introduce the week planner, brand new feature. My colleague Marco, he's not here in sound, but he is in the background, and that brings me to basically one household, well, rule, I must say, invitation. He is going to be there to answer all your questions. So please, if you have any questions, don't hold them up. Just go ahead, ask them in the question box, and Marco will be happy to answer them. And of course, if it relates to something that I need to show, he'll just give me a shout, and I'll show it during the demo. Okay. So, what we have in store for you today is the following, because we made an agenda. Oh, yes, here we are. So, first, I want to dive into why did we develop a week planner? Then, I'll dive into the product and give a demonstration. Then, I will talk about future development with respect to the week planner. And I will wrap up with questions and answers. And of course, like I already said, just go ahead and ask your questions during the entire webinar, but I'll also have some time at the end of the webinar to dive into some specific questions that, for example, I need to demonstrate. Okay, cool. Well, why a week planner? Why did we develop this feature? Well, basically because you, our clients, asked for it. And there's three specific requirements that we reviewed when you came to us. And one was that when you came with feedback to us, you said, hey, planning, scheduling, the day level is not always relevant. And the thing is, of course, with the feature like the planning board and the calendar, you're always working on the day level because you're creating a booking, it's on a day, and it's at a specific time. But um, talking to you guys, you said, well, we also have assignments, projects where the day level is not that interesting. We just have a job and we have that job and we need to work on it 4 hours a day. So for example, let's say you need to do some maintenance on a website of one of your clients, or you need to manage an SEO campaign for one of your clients. And you're doing that throughout the year, and you know that you just need to schedule like 4 hours or 2 hours every week, and on which day it is specifically, that's not very interesting. But at this moment, with the planning board, you're sort of stuck. Uh, that means stuck to the day level. But the week planner is now going to help you out because with the week planner, you can schedule those hours on the week basis. So that's one of the problems our clients were facing that we wanted to solve. A second requirement was that our client said, well, we have long-term projects, for example, like a year or maybe even 2 years, and we want to reserve capacity, we want to schedule resources to those projects. But obviously, when you're scheduling for the long term, again, the day level is not very interesting. You want to allocate them for like 50% of their time or 80%. Um, and you simply want to do that on a week basis. For example, 6 months, 24 hours a week, and then maybe 2 months after that, when you have another phase, you want to allocate them full time for 40 hours a week. And again, you were already able to do that in the planning board because we have feature like repeating bookings. But again, you have the day level in there. So you create a booking on a day and then you repeat it. And we have a special feature. It's called the justify option, where you can schedule a number of hours and then um repeat that until an end date. It is possible, but now not so easy as we've solved it in the week planner, where you can simply type number of hours per week. And that brings us to the last requirement, um, where we wanted to, which we wanted to incorporate into the week planner, is that, uh, well, Excel is a tool that we sometimes, well, often see as our biggest competitor. And of course, a system like us, we're way better in communicating the schedule through Outlook, through our mobile app. And of course, we can have all of kinds of validations if the project is blocked, if you're not over allocating people. Um, those are the main advantages of using a system like Timewax above Excel. But there's one point where Excel sort of always beat us, and that's simply typing in number of hours in cells. Because if you think of our week planner and you set it up in Excel and you have the weeks in columns, you can just tab through those cells very easy, just punch in now number of hours and you're done. And I think I'm proud to say that now we've finally are able to sort of beat them to it. We've also incorporated this feature that it's very easy and very fast to import hours, just like you can do in Excel. So, without further ado, let's dive into the week planner. Let's dive into the demo. All right. So, here we have the week planner. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to explain all the different elements of the week planner. Let's start with the right side of the screen. I'm opening that up. And what we have here on the right side of the screen, you can open up your views. Now, this is just like you're used to in the planning board and also in the calendar feature, where you work with views to make a selection of resources. And we do the same here in the week planner. And we also, of course, give you the opportunity to use the views that you already have. So if you've created them in the planning board, you can also use them here. You can also edit and create them here and use them in the planning board. Now, there's only one specific thing that you need to know about views. Because in the planning board, you can create views, and in those views, you can filter on characteristics of bookings. So, example, a booking has a status, hard and soft, or it could be a note entry. Now, in the planning board and also in the calendar view, you can actually filter on these characteristics to only show bookings with the status hard. As you can reuse those views here in the week planner, what we do here as a philosophy, we ignore the filters that you've placed on booking characteristics. Because if we would apply them, you would not see the total number of hours. And as we're not concerned, we're not dealing with bookings in this week planner, we want to make sure that you always see all the hours scheduled to a resource. Because if we do not show you that, you would get the wrong idea. You would think that a resource is available, and then you would start scheduling hours. And well, in fact, it could be that this person is not available at all. So please note, we ignore all the booking filters. Okay, so that's the views. You select a view, and that, of course, determines the selection of your resources here on the left. On top, we have the navigation, again, like you used to in the planning board. Here on the right, you can determine how many weeks you want to show. So you can set it to 8 weeks like I'm doing now. Um, but we've gone as far as to show an entire year. So again, let me switch to 52 weeks, and now we're showing 52 weeks. And what you need to do is scroll to the right to see all the other weeks. On here in the header, we also have the navigation. So if we are now here in week one, this is the first week. If I just want to move up 1 week, I click on the single arrow to the right, and now I've moved up a week. If I want to move up 4 weeks at a time, I click on the double arrow, and then I move up 4 weeks. I can click on today. This will navigate me back to the current week, and I can also jump through time by using the date picker. So this is exactly how it also works in the planning board. Okay, then here on the left side of the screen, we have the resources. And at this moment, what I've done, I've collapsed the resources. So we see one line. This is what we call a summary line per resource. And I can click on it, and then it opens up this resource, and we see multiple lines, and each line represents a combination of a project and activity. So for example, BKL project design, and this line is in here because somewhere in these 52 weeks, I have scheduled hours to this project for this resource. So in my example, starting from week 38. Now we're only showing projects and activities for this resource where we have scheduled some hours, because we're obviously not going to show all the projects, because then it wouldn't simply fit in your screen if you have a bunch of projects. You can collapse again. I can also in an instant collapse and expand all the resources. Um, Up to you. Up to you. So typically, if you want to have an overview, you collapse them. If you want to see all the details, well, the other way around. If you want to see all the details, you expand them, and if you want to see the summary view, just collapse them and open up, expand a resource individually. Okay. Now let's dive into the scheduling part. So in my example here, Jeremy has 3 projects for which he's been scheduled. Here in the summary row, I can see his utilization. So for example, for week 2 and 3, I see that he's been scheduled 100%. But here in week 1, I can still schedule him for a number of hours. But I'm going to book him for 20 hours on this project, 8 hours this project. So now he's up. Now he's been fully booked. So this is very convenient, this summary row. This gives me an instant view of how many hours of he has left, what his availability is. Let me continue, and let me just punch in the number of hours here, 10. See, and this is how easy it is. Just I'm going through a bunch of cells, tabbing through them, and allocating this guy for 10 hours a week. And when I'm done, because the thing is, it's not been saved yet. That's why it's also displayed in orange, in an orange font color. This means I've inputted the hours, but it's not been saved yet. Now, the reason why we do this is we want to give you the opportunity to play around and sort of say, okay, maybe in this week I also want to schedule him on this project for 36 hours or, well, yeah, 36 hours, but then he's overbooked, so maybe I need to only book him on this project for 4 hours. So you sort of play around with the data. You schedule until you think, okay, this is a good idea, and then you save them. And then the hours are being saved. And so what happens here now in the background is that um, we make bookings, because um, in the end we are a booking system. The planning board deals with bookings. Um, Of course, here in the week planner, we've made it in such a way that you you're not concerned with planning bookings. You just punch in number of hours, but we translate that to bookings. Now, let me briefly explain how that works, because how are these hours, how are these converted into bookings? Let me show you by this example. Jeremy in week 7, let's say I'll book him for 32 hours on this project and 4 hours on this one and 4 hours on this one. Okay, so now he's been fully booked. I'm going to save that. So let's remember that week 7. And now let's look at the planning board. Let's go to week 7. Yes, let me just refresh it. So now what we see here is here's Jeremy. Here you can see what happened. So what the week planner does, we booked him for 32 hours on the BKL project. So what the week planner did is it created 4 bookings here on Tuesday till Friday, and we booked him for 4 hours on this job XED and this service task. So the week planner, what it does is it's going to dive into Jeremy's availability. In my example, he works 8 hours a day for 5 days a week. So we simply go in, see where he has available time on a day in a week, and then we make bookings. That's how it works. So this also means that you can the planning board and the week plan, they coexist. They are not standalone tools. You can schedule here bookings in the planning board, and those hours will be displayed in the week planner. And of course, as I've already shown, make when you book hours in the week planner, it will be translated into bookings here. So they can coexist. So for example, for long-term planning, you would decide to use the week planner, and then for the short-term planning, where it really does matter on which days projects, activities must be scheduled, you just switch over to the planning board and continue scheduling here. All right, good. Now, there's some uh, another couple of features that are interesting. For example, the display here of the columns. Now, these columns, resource and activity, those are fixed, as well as resource. But let's just drag and open a little bit, and you can see that we have more columns. Again, just like you're used to in the planning board, we have a column with position, department, and you can also drag them around and change their position. You can also change the width of the columns, and these will be saved as a personal preference. So this means next time when you come back to the week planner, it will remember exactly the sequence of the columns, the width of the columns, and you simply continue where you left off. Okay. Some other settings that are relevant to know. In my example, I've chosen a traditional view to show a utilization percentage. So I can see, hey, Jeremy he's been utilized for 100%. But for example here, 23%, okay, how many hours does he still have left? That would mean some calculation that I have to do from the top of my head. But I can also go down to the bottom right side of the screen, and I change my show totals settings. So it's been set to utilization. Now I set it to available. I save, and now I can see, okay, he still has 31 hours left to be scheduled. Schedule him for 28. Now he has 3 hours left. Now you also notice that the color of the cells change. This is a system setting that you're already familiar with, because it's the same system setting that's being applied in the planning board, where we also have a utilization column, and we have the utilization feature for reporting. And so, for example, the way I've set it up is when he's been utilized for more than 110%, it turns red. Between, I think, 80 and 110, it's green, and below that, it's yellow. Of course, you could have a different setting, but this setting will determine uh, which color the hours are displayed in. And to wrap it up, next to the ability to determine how you want this summary row to be displayed, you can also set up notifications. Now, again, these notifications, you're probably already familiar with them because we have the same notifications in the planning board. And as a matter of fact, they are exactly the same ones. So if you have one of these enabled in the planning board, they will automatically also be enabled here. It's the same setting. So if you always want to be notified when you overbook the budget, when you exceed the budget of an activity, if you already have that enabled in the planning board, it will also be enabled here. And when you book hours here and exceed the budget, you'll get the same pop-up as you're used to in the planning board saying, hey, watch out, you're now exceeding the budget. Okay. One thing I forgot to mention is here on the left side, where we see the resources, we see the projects. Now, at this moment, we're only seeing the projects for which we've already scheduled hours in these 52 weeks. But what if we want to uh, add a new project? Well, how you do that is you click on the plus item here. Click on the plus item. I go in, I look, I just type in the first few characters of a project. It filters the list. Well, there's only one project. There's now a drop down that allows me to choose the specific activity. And then now I've added this line, and then I can go ahead and schedule some hours. And I'm done. So that's how you add new lines. Yeah, this is this is it. If you start working with the week planner and you have any questions, or you want some more explanation, or some background tutorials, in the top right corner where we see the question mark, you can click on that, and this will take you to our documentation site, and specifically it will instantly take you to the week planner support article, which also contains video tutorials. Okay, that's it now for the demo. So let's go back to the slides. Yes, here we are. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about future development of this week planner, because what we've done, we've delivered this week planner, but this is a first version, a first iteration, because we wanted to launch this product as soon as possible so that you, our customers, could have their hands on them. But this is not where it's going to stop, because what we want to add in a second version is we want to add the project perspective. Again, like you're used to in the planning board, where you have two boards, and you can have a board with projects, you can have a board with resources. We want to implement a project week planner as well, where you can just have a second view, and then you can look at the scheduled hours from a project perspective. So you see the project, you see the activity, and then you can expand it, and then you can see the resources. So that's one feature we want to add. We are also looking at ways to copy planning. Well, if you remember, in the planning board, you can select a booking and you can copy that booking. And here we always want to see how we can sort of select a range of projects, resources, a time, a date range, and then copy hours as well. So it's going to be a major bulk copy planning feature. That's something that we want to implement. Um, and I think it's also good to mention that this planning board is laying down the groundwork for the new planning board. you're familiar with the current planning board. Um, we are working on a new version on that in our new technology stack. Because with the current planning board, we found there's certain limitations due to the technology that we used. Uh, that technology limits us, for example, to select all the resources in the current planning board and to show 52 weeks at once. That's not possible. This has to do with, well, technology limitations. Um, but of course, we want to give you the ability to see a lot of data, to select a lot of resources. And as a matter of fact, if maybe you noticed, but in the week planner, I just opened up 52 weeks in a flash, and my selection of resources wasn't that big. It's like 20 resources, but there's no limit to that. So if you have an account and you have like 200 resources, the week planner will work, will select those resources pretty fast. And that's why I say that the week planner that we now developed is has laid down the groundwork for the new planning board. Some customers also ask us, hey, why are you coming with the week planner? We are really looking forward to having a new planning board. Well, to be honest, for 80%, this week planner has the components of this new planning board. It has the way it has a feature to select views. It has the navigation on top. It has on the left side has these resources. Only the grid is different, but for 80%, we've laid down the groundwork of the new planning board. So it's going to be super exciting to have the new planning board also with the ability to select, well, lots of resources and instantly show 52 weeks. And yeah, we've made that possible with our the new technologies that we've applied. Okay, then we are ready to take some questions. Well, let me just quickly look at what Marco is passing through for questions. Yes, there is one. Okay, this is an interesting question. So one of the questions is, can I also enter resource requests? So if we look at the planning board, when you have a board with projects, you can actually make bookings, and those bookings don't have any resources allocated to them yet. And this is something you do at a later stage. So you just drag and drop resources to those bookings. This is something that you cannot do in the week planner at this moment because we only have a view with resources. But like I said, in a second version, what we would like to do is incorporate a project perspective. And then when you open up a project and you could schedule resources, but then we also will give the ability to uh, define resource requests. So you can say, okay, for this project, I need somebody from department A or this position. And then you enter number of hours not allocated to a resource. And then at a later stage, you simply drag a resource to that. And then that resource will be booked for those number of hours. So that's something that we're looking forward to in the second version. Let me have a peek at other questions. How can I activate the week planner? Well, I'll show you. Let me just go back to, yes, to Timewax. Okay, so where you do that, now this is important to know, you can do that here in master data, go to user profiles, and then in user profiles, we have an option called week planner. Important to know is that the week planner is only available in the professional and the enterprise edition. If you have that edition, simply go to user profiles, go to week planner, and in my case, it's already been authorized, of course, but here's where you can enable it. By default, it will always be disabled. If you're not seeing that in your Timewax account, this means that you are not on the professional or enterprise edition. You are on a legacy edition. And this means that you need to upgrade. So reach out to us and we can have you upgraded to one of the new editions. Right. Let's see. Any other questions? Um, is our bookings in the planning board also shown, or sorry, no, bookings in the hours scheduled in the week planner also shown in the calendar? Yes, they are. Let me briefly show you. I was just showing you guys. So, for example, I've booked Jeremy. I've booked him, well, in several weeks. And just like these hours are visible in the planning board, which we already saw. Well, let me just, yeah, so here, um, they will also be visible in the calendar. So I'm going to jump to the calendar right now because at this moment already, when you schedule something in the planning board, you will see it in the calendar. When you see when you schedule something in the calendar, it will already be visible as well in the planning board. So, of course, now with the week planner, anything that you schedule will be visible. For example, here, week 7, week 8. See, these hours were all scheduled with the week planner. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay. How to add a new project. Let me clarify again. So if you want to add a new project here, for Jeremy, I want to add a new project. I just simply click on the plus icon. And also note that the implemented, if you have data security enabled so that the user is not allowed to see all the projects, then of course that all will also apply here. So based on data security, I am only here able to select the projects that I'm allowed to see. I select the project. I select the activity. Also, when you have multiple activities, you can just start typing and then it filters down to the activity you're looking for. And then we have selected this project and we can schedule hours. All right, good. Any other questions? Let me just, no, no. I think we are done. We are done for today. So Uh, I hope you're excited as us. I mean, we've been working hard at this feature. It's really something cool that we've been working on, and the first impressions from customers was very good. The resonance has been very good. So, yeah, I would say go out and start using it. And if you're on a legacy edition, reach out to us, and we'll help you to upgrade to one of the new editions so that you can get your hands on it. Uh, that's it for me. Thanks for joining this webinar and talk to you guys later. Bye bye.